Last year's return to the OG Chapter 1 map saw massive success and numbers Epic could only wish to recreate. With that in mind, they set out to create another similar experience for players that would be both enjoyable but also profitable. They stated that this time around they wanted to do things a bit differently by adding a unique twist to the OG season, and that's when we learned through the leaked roadmap that this year returning was going to be Chapter 2. But still, there was excitement all around for the return to Chapter 2 Season 2, arguably the game's best season. That would all be until, in a catastrophic series of poor choices by Epic, that it would lead to Chapter 2 Remix being a complete failure for many. There were little details like Epic completely dropping the ball on the One Ball Remix skin, which should have been this year's customizable skin, and the remix pass to a random outfit being shoved in the bonus rewards. We could tell this season was rushed, and Fortnite might have actually missed the mark for Chapter 2 Remix, and here's why. It should be no surprise to anyone that the excitement for this season was lower than the massive hype that was created for Fortnite OG, and if we consider the fact that the return of Chapter 2 was revealed to us months before its actual release date due to the roadmap leak, many people think that had this not have happened, the hype would have been increased, even potentially matching that of Fortnite OG, but that's something we'll never know. What we do know now though is the horrible marketing situation and how Epic themselves didn't even advertise for their own season well enough. If we simply compare the announcement tweets for Fortnite OG and Fortnite Remix, it's evident that the first one did miles better, whereas the second had little to no attention compared to the previous. There are two reasons as to why this happened, with the first one simply being preference. Ever since we saw that Chapter 2 was going to be returning this year, the very first thing everyone thought was that it wasn't going to be enough to top OG's success. While still a very beloved map, Chapter 2 isn't even close to how loved Chapter 1 and its map was, making the OG season a once-in-a-lifetime month-long experience. The second reason is because of the repeated theme. When Season OG's return happened, it was only available for 1 month, and because of the fear of missing out and the fact that this was the first time an old map was returning to Fortnite, everyone played it. So because now the community's already had a similar experience, a Chapter's return immediately becomes a repeat, no matter the differences, and the way Epic chose to make Chapter 2 different is very controversial. Initially, everyone thought that the seasons we would cycle would be from 1 to 3, and it was already controversial enough that we wouldn't revisit any of the other seasons like Season 7, which was another Chapter 2 fan favorite. But in a surprising turn of events, we didn't end up getting any of the other seasons either, because Remix would be focused strictly around Chapter 2 Season 2, the season everyone was looking forward to in the first place. Expecting the agency, one of the most popular Fortnite POIs of all time, to make a return, the player base was left speechless when in an unexpected reveal, the fan favorite location was taken over by Snoop Dogg and Meowdas was nowhere to be found. That's right, because this was Chapter 2 Season's 2 only chance to receive an accurate recreation, and fans of it were eager to replay it, landing at their favorite agent-themed POIs, but it was all gone. Only for players to find out their once favorite locations were now overtaken by collabs, and not just any collaborations, but what people are now calling a Fortnite Festival advertisement in BR. Not wanting to repeat the same mistake they had last time with the season just being a 1-to-1 and becoming boring quickly, since Chapter 2 really doesn't have the same charm, Epic attempted to spice things up with what they revealed to be a musical twist. But in their attempt to correct one mistake, they managed to create several more. The Battle Pass skins are a very good example of this, because while many of them are cool looking, there's a lot of missed opportunities. Meowdas is yet another Meowscles skin, and we have had way too many as of recently, resulting in it not living up to the previous tier 50 of the OG pass, which was as cool as Omega Rock. But speaking of reskins though, some of you might remember the Deadpool skin that was promoted in a real life costume over at the D23 presentation for the Marvel season announcement. It would make sense if this was revealed this season as a mix of Agent Peely and Deadpool, who were both in the Chapter 2 Season 2 pass, but this would mean yet another Peely or another Deadpool reskin, and Epic have been adding way too many of these throughout the last year, making it repeatable and even annoying at this point. And skins like One Ball could have been a customizable skin featuring the different pool table balls as styles similar to what the Spectre Knight had last year, but for an unknown reason it didn't end up happening and was such a missed opportunity. But another big issue in Fortnite OG was the various map inaccuracies that could be found. Prime examples of that are in the lacking map changes, like Season 8 only getting the small pirate outposts, which in many occasions were placed wrongly too. Not to mention Season 9 didn't get any themed map changes at all. The iceberg for Season 7 was also only a small part of it, and it didn't include one of the most famous POIs, Happy Hamlet. And even other locations had inaccuracies within them, like Tilted Towers not having its iconic tower building as it was replaced with the No Sweat Insurance building with no explanation, or this house from Fatal Fields being used twice. And so this issue's now reappeared on the Chapter 2 map, where the biggest inaccuracies are a part of the theme itself. Instead of the iconic agency in the center of the map, now there lies the Dog Pound, which is a remixed version of the original POI with added decorations like a bridge, golden palm trees, and a golden dog statue on top, all to match the theme of Snoop Dogg. As we can all assume, changing one of the best POIs in the game and placing a collab on top of it was not received well by the community, but especially not a rapper. It doesn't stop there though, because another location that's getting revamped is the Grotto, which was now turned into the Spaghetti Grotto. Instead of the original version with Brutus as a boss, we're now getting Eminem's version, where his spaghetti shop will be placed inside the cave. Feeling very last minute because he already had a full-scale live event and 2 outfits in the original OG season. And for the final blow, another beloved POI, the Shark, I hate to say it, is being turned from an Asian resort to an abandoned shopping mall overtaken by the artist Ice Spice, who somehow replaces Sky entirely. The removal of the season's originality split the community in two, with one side being excited to play the remix version of the map, while a lot more loyal Chapter 2 players felt betrayed by Epic's choice to abandon the season's identity and infest it with collabs. However, while those are the most obvious changes to the POIs, there's a few more on the island that eagle-eyed fans of Chapter 2 have managed to spot, and it doesn't look like Epic learned from their mistakes. The rig was originally colorless, but in this season it's now blue and orange, marking just one of many other inaccuracies to the original Chapter 2 map. Just beside it, you'll notice that the trees at Slurpy Swamp are not their original assets and have all been replaced with the jungle trees from Chapter 3's tropical biome. And some of you surely have noticed that there's corals being copy-pasted in different areas in the map, even though they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. Meaning maybe Coral Castle is now coming back, which no one wants. A lack of interest for Chapter 2 compared to Chapter 1's return was also made evident by the numbers, because on day 2, the original OG had peaked with more than 6 million individual players and everyone was talking about it, when Chapter 2 only managed to gather 4 million players in its second day. The numbers are still not bad at all, but it becomes obvious that there were many either just not interested in the Chapter 2 map or left disappointed by their favorite season being turned into a collab. To understand what led to this though, we need to go back to the event leading to the remix season and how the build up towards it was handled. Because a key aspect to an event is how it's marketed, not only by Fortnite's social media but also in game with teasers on the island. While the event was initially expected to be a big finale on the Chapter 5 map, it turned out it was actually very small in size and took place in restored reels, which immediately led to some fans having suspicions that this chapter ending event might be a concert. This itself didn't do Epic any favors, as the player base has been yearning for a story related event for a while now, but we'll get to that soon again. But as for the social media advertisement of the event, the community became extremely upset on how cryptic Fortnite was on their part. After a lot of complaints, Fortnite finally made a response to clarify things, but this just made things a lot worse than they already were. In a generic tweet, they announced that it was indeed an event happening and that they dropped more info the day later. While excited at the confirmation though, the community just didn't like how disorganized these types of announcements felt, and we all began to suspect that this event might not have been the grand chapter finale we expected after all. The hype started when the actual event announcement dropped, but yet again there was just something off with it. No additional info was dropped for it other than a date and a key art, and this in turn just led to people not being interested enough to attend it. Even so, up until the very last moments of waiting for the countdown to reach 0, players held high hopes that this would deliver, but little did they know the event would go down as arguably the worst event in Fortnite history. Minutes before the countdown ended, it was revealed that the event was indeed a concert featuring Snoop Dogg and Ice Spice, the protagonists of Fortnite Remix but with a twist. It would be live from New York Times Square and broadcasted on the Restored Reels screen. It was indeed a pretty impressive feat by Epic, but a total disaster as it was not what the players were expecting or wanting at all. The dislike to the event being just a stream, and it was being described as just another advertisement alongside multiple technical issues that occurred, such as players crashing or the stream not working for them, leading to quite a disastrous event night. For the majority of people, the event was deemed so bad that they instantly began regretting after calling events such as the Fracture or the Big Bang event bad or low effort, and that alone says a lot. It makes complete sense when we look at past chapter ending events, because for a long while people used to use the masterpieces that are Chapter 1's Black Hole event or the island flipping at the end of Chapter 2, which were spectacular masterpieces with implications for the game as well, which we'll soon discuss. But even past concerts have set the bar way too high for Epic to drop this kind of event event and not expect its undeniable failure. In the past, we experienced two of the best concert events, and they both, coincidentally enough, occurred on the Chapter 2 island. The first of these was the Travis Scott event that revolutionized how concerts could be executed in Fortnite, and to this day, it's probably the best concert event that we've ever seen according to most. But the second, of course, is the Ariana Grande event, which was also extremely high in quality as it pushed the boundaries of Fortnite at the time. This begs the question, what's the true reason Fortnite stopped putting that much effort in the events and giving players what they truly desire? And now is the perfect time to discuss the major problem and answer to the previous question, and the answer is very simple: the lack of story elements. One of the main reasons the events got popular in the first place was because of their story implications, and with a cohesive narrative powering them, players were eager to tune into every single one of them to discover how the story would progress or what would happen next, hinting at the next season and what it would look like. But apart from that though, it was also a way to explain everything that was happening and for the transitions from season to season or even map to map to actually have them make sense. In last year's Fortnite OG, the story saw the use of a time machine stolen by the villain Kato Thorne in order to go back to the Chapter 1 map for Jones to extract the 0 point, as was said in one of the season's voice quests.
Do the job, Jones. It has to be done.
But that was all thrown away when the Big Bang event explained none of what was happening throughout the season, and we simply got a new map with zero explanation as to how it came to be, and also the metaverse arriving compared to the past where previous maps were either destroyed for new ones to be formed in different ways, like the flip side in Chapter 3 or the forging of the new island with Chapter 4. With that in mind, everyone was hoping Epic would have learned from their mistake and given the Chapter 5 transition to Chapter 2 a proper explanation as well as a proper ending to the Chapter 5 map compared to Chapter 4's, which just disappeared without any reasoning. With Epic delivering a pretty well-developed storyline throughout Chapter 5 seasons, everyone was hoping that they had indeed improved and that this would mark the beginning of an actual storyline-related live event. But somehow Epic managed to make things even worse than last year, because with the event being a concert, there was absolutely no explanation as to what happened to the Chapter 5 map or just how it even ended. And our arrival to the Chapter 2 map makes no sense even at this time where we just got rifted here with no time travel involved. It quickly was clear overnight that Epic didn't just want to prioritize the storyline anymore and doesn't need to explain transitions between seasons throughout it. This caused an outrage in the storyline community, and it only upsetted fans who have stuck with it and supported Fortnite for so long, only for Epic to slowly abandon the story in favor of the metaverse and their collabs. The only upside to this is that when the season dropped, around the map, players could now discover tapes left by Hope that continue the storyline from Chapter 5 and hint at a new adventure beginning in Chapter 6. This has given everyone in the community a sliver of hope, pun intended, that the storyline isn't completely abandoned yet. But it's obvious now that Epic is willing to make a mess of it by leaving huge gaps between seasons and doing things like returning to past islands with no need of explanation. The mini events being the only kind of events where storyline is involved, and them happening strictly in Battle Royale, is Epic's way of letting us know the story's no longer intended to reach the grand climaxes of previous chapters like the Galactus event or the Operation Skyfire one. But there's still demand evident by the nearly 9 million people who attended the recent concert. But Epic's decided it's simply there for entertainment to ease transitions between seasons during the main chapter and will be ruled out in favor of the Fortnite metaverse. This is why Donald Mustard himself, the previous chief creative officer of Fortnite, decided to leave the game as it reached a point where the metaverse became too much of a priority for Epic and they didn't even want to fund live events or the storyline as much. This is further backed by the fact that we already know what to expect for this chapter's end event, and it looks like the storyline community is going to be upset once again. While early leaks indicated the end event was going to be a remix of the Device event from Chapter 2, we know that in reality it's going to be a concert honoring Juice WRLD's legacy. The idea itself is pretty amazing, and it's almost poetic since the first event of Chapter 2 was the Travis Scott concert, and now it's going to be ending with a big one as well. However, this could imply that while a big scale concert, it'll still not give any actual answers as to how we'll end up on the Chapter 6 map, yet again scrapping the storyline continuity in favor of collabs and the metaverse. However, something that actually got pretty well received this season is the brand new locker changes, because after the horrible locker UI changes that took place on December 1st with the Chapter 5 update, everyone requested for Fortnite to either improve the locker UI or revert it entirely to as it was a system that had consistently worked for the last few years. Seeing the wild reactions and community outrage, Fortnite made a tweet saying they'd improve the locker UI after feedback was given, and the community felt victorious, but little did we know they wouldn't end up changing the locker for almost an entire year with no further communication on the topic. Luckily, with the new launch of Remix, the locker got a remix too, because Fortnite added the option to view all your different cosmetic types, including emotes and wraps, in the same page as before, and even save entire loadouts, bundling up your character, emote, wraps, cars, and music instruments all into one so you can swap between different presets easily. And to give us even more flexibility, they just increased the loadout presets up to 200 from the initial 100, which is something everyone seems to love. Alongside those changes, the battle passes for all modes got a significant revamp, giving players exactly what we all wanted for so long. If you notice something's off when getting rewards this season, you're right, as now both the battle pass and music pass progress all at the same time regardless of which mode you're playing, allowing you to harvest XP from your favorite mode but also get rewards for the other modes. This saves a lot of time for everyone, and it gets even better once you realize that in Chapter 6 both battle stars and Lego pass studs are going to be completely removed, allowing you to progress all your passes simply by leveling up, so you'll be earning rewards a lot faster and closer to the original Chapter 2 level up system. The positive changes for the season don't end there, as Epic's planning to publish yet another amazing change soon, because seeing how popular the request for festival instruments to become pickaxes and backblings were, they now are soon going to be implemented into BR. This might be a really minuscule change, but it does show that Epic has started to see that if they truly want to watch their metaverse succeed, at least in this early stage of it, they need to center it around Battle Royale and not let it overshadow Battle Royale, as it's proven to be their main source of income. Chapter 2 Remix might not be as successful as Fortnite OG was, but it has still brought insane numbers to the game that no other mode, whether Festival or Lego, could gather, even with their biggest updates. And all this brings us to the big question: what would an ideal Chapter 2 Remix have looked like, and what improvements does it need in order to surpass its predecessor? For starters, something almost everyone would have liked, including myself, would have been the return of the interactive agent lobby from Chapter 2 Season 2. It was even spotted in the teaser trailer for Remix, making everyone think that it would make a grand return after years, but that was just false advertising. So this would have been the perfect opportunity to bring it back. And then we get to the battle pass skins themselves, who all should have been much better. With how many cool Chapter 2 battle pass and item shop skins we saw, one would have expected to see even more creative remixes, like a mashup of Midas and Fusion, or even a remix of Fade, a very underrated skin from Chapter 2 Season 3's battle pass, who to this day has never had a remix. One ball could have been like Maya from the Season 2 pass, where you could completely customize them by completing different quests, and be a cool callback to the original Chapter 2 Season 2. I'm sure this would have been appreciated a lot more, and it would have definitely been fun to see how everyone would have customized their own. Maybe even with customizable billiard stick pickaxes. For each skin, you'd be able to truly make them your own, the way Epic intended to the first time around, where every player could choose between ghosts and shadow versions. And so, in an ideal world, every single skin in the mini pass would have this option, letting you select a shadow or ghost side and truly allowing you to choose your team, just like we were able to do in Chapter 2 Season 2. An integral piece of the chapter's identity as a whole that would have made it feel more like home. Next, let's talk about the collabs themselves, which could have played out differently. This is one of the few times the main bosses of the season haven't been part of the battle pass itself, and instead were placed in the item shop. What Epic could have done ideally was to keep the collab bosses as a separate update towards the end of the month experience, and keep it original for the first few weeks, giving us back our favorite POIs just as we knew them, like the agency and the grotto, and then have them be taken over later on. Ideally though, Chapter 2 shouldn't have even been about Season 2 in the first place. The chapter had a total of 8 unique seasons, all that had something to offer, both in the map changes but also the gameplay. Season 3 had the flooded maps, Season 5 with the desert biome and sand tunneling, Season 6 with the wildlife and the crafting system, and Season 7 was a massive fan favorite with the saucer vehicles and unique weaponry such as the railgun, and lastly, Season 8 would have brought the sideways dimension and weapons. With such a rich history, especially for the storyline, it would have been incredible to experience all these seasons to an extent, maybe by featuring their best parts between these 4 weeks, because it was possible in Fortnite OG and it also could have been possible here. All the seasons mentioned had a lot of unique storyline within them, which aside from the tapes found on the map right now, which kind of feel lazy and thrown together at last minute, is something that's truly missing from the game at the moment. A better explanation as to how we ended up on the Chapter 2 island and what our purpose here is in order to lead to a new story event at the finale of Chapter 5 also would have truly been a spectacle to see, setting up a brand new era for Chapter 6. Thanks for watching, and the channel says you'll like this video, so I'll see you there.